2023 had a lot of chaos in the music world. Even when focusing in on rock, alternative, metal, etc., there was still a lot of amazing and terrible events that happened. From allegations, to turbulent festivals, to band fights, to just about anything social media related, 2023 was a year to remember for good and bad. I've never done a year-end video like this, and I'm doing it in the beginning of December with the hope that nothing awful will happen for the rest of the year. Please, universe, just give us a few weeks of peace. This is not a ranked list. I'm not ranking how wild some of these news stories are. That would just be weird. Also, I'm not including any stories where death is involved. Just wild stories in the world of rock, metal, alternative, everything like that. Who's ready for a rocky trip down memory lane? Because there's a lot of rocky moments here. Yikes. This video is sponsored by Audible. Mental health should be an important focus for all of us, and it's also worth remembering some of the greatest musicians in rock history also had their share of mental health struggles. Kurt Cobain is a legend in many ways, and it's worth understanding and remembering what we know about the voice of Nirvana. As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month to keep from the entire catalog, including the latest bestsellers and new releases. You can choose Heavier Than Heaven and many other rock and roll autobiographies or self-help titles. Members also get full access to a growing selection of included audiobooks, Audible originals, and podcasts. You can download their included titles all you want. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, while traveling, working out, walking, doing chores, anything. Visit audible.com/getrocked or text GetRocked to 500-500 to try Audible free. Link is in the video description to hear Heavier Than Heaven and understand Kurt Cobain's life through interviews and stories by the people who knew him. One of the bigger controversies in the heavy music world came out of Germany with Rammstein taking the wrong type of spotlight. It was around May that several accusations were made against Till Lindemann, who allegedly over the years took advantage over several women at concerts and clubs. The initial accusation came from a user online stating their experience at a Rammstein concert. The band posted that she wanted to attend the pre-show and after party, and she was given instructions what to do to be at the show, how to dress, take pictures of herself to send to them, as well as who to meet from the crew to get there. The fan was then told Till Lindemann wanted to meet her at the after party where no cell phones were allowed. She posted the details of everything she remembered from that concert night regarding everything, but to sum up, she claims her drinks were spiked, and that's the reason everything went south. It was after this point that many other women came forward about experiences from Rammstein concerts over the years, especially the after parties. There are many first-hand accounts and explanations from people online discussing what happened to them and what they saw behind the scenes at concerts. This led to many stories getting twisted and Rammstein's label stopping tour and financial support for the group. This was followed by a group statement from the rest of the band talking about how Till has a separate lifestyle from the group that has been exacerbated during pandemic and during Till's solo touring. At the time, this looks like the group was trying to distance themselves from Till's accusations while claiming what they know. Several months have passed, and the German investigation would eventually be closed due to there being a lack of evidence to press charges. As of now, there doesn't appear to be any legal issues going forward for Lindemann or Rammstein, but it does leave a fairly dark cloud over the group after so many claims coming from fans and alleged victims.
Take great care of one another, respect one another.
When it comes to allegations in the punk, pop-punk, emo world, we've all become unfortunately aware of how many problematic people there are. If there was one band I never would have thought would have had this issue, it's Anti-Flag. The accusations against singer Justin Sane proved me wrong big time. Seriously, this is a band and singer I never would have thought would be in the spotlight for something like this. But throughout 2023, women have come forward with accusations and full statements with witnesses of Justin Sane's predatory behavior going back to 2010. Back in July was the initial claim on the podcast Enough, where the victim finally used a platform to call out her aggressor. After this, at least 12 other women came forward with claims of Justin Sane's behavior over the years. As of this writing, Justin Sane is being sued along with Anti-Flag for several claims. The legal statement from the original victim reads,
Justin Jeever used his platform as a celebrated, self-proclaimed punk rock star to groom and lure vulnerable girls into feeling safe in his presence while he sang about protecting women and standing up to abusers. It appears he was hiding an addiction to power and control, harming countless women who have been unable to speak up before now. Today, I hope to encourage his survivors and survivors of other predators in the music industry to feel hope again.
It's worth pointing out that the other members of Anti-Flag completely disbanded the group with a message on their Patreon to fans saying only, Anti-Flag has disbanded. Now that everything is public, the other band members of Anti-Flag have openly condemned the actions of Justin Sane, and this is a terrible end to an established punk act for years. The final Anti-Flag album was released in early 2023 as well, but it does appear that the terrible accusations regarding all this are what Anti-Flag will be remembered for at least quite a while.
Can you treat me high?
If you would have asked me which 90s and 2000s band would make a return to the public eye in 2023, I never would have guessed the diamond-certified meme machine of music that is Creed. And I would have been dead wrong because people around the world apparently were waiting patiently for a comeback. This all started with the Summer of '99 Cruise announcement, an entire concert cruise dedicated to nostalgia with Creed and Three Doors Down and other bands on top. Days at sea with your favorite rock radio hits being played live. There may have been a joke to some, but the joke's on them because the cruise sold out fast. A second cruise date had to be announced, and that sold also. On top of that, Creed announced the Summer of '99 tour through the US in 2024, featuring a variety of bands on the road and also including a festival performance in California. 2023 saw the light that was Creed, and people are embracing it. Then, to top it all, the Texas Rangers unofficially adopted the song Higher to play at every home game during the Rangers' amazing playoff run, leading to the team's first World Series victory. Creed even went to one of the games and got a huge ovation. That's right, Creed helped Texas win the World Series. If that's not some wholesome rock news, then I don't know what is. I'm also convinced that Creed will have some type of new music in 2024. Even if just a new song, Scott Stapp has to have been itching to do this again, and the other members have been active with Alter Bridge for years, so they are always ready to play. 2023 saw the return of Creed. 2024 could show all the youngins why Creed was such a big deal back in the day, and why their music is so memeable. Speaking of returns, it was huge news when Tom DeLonge finally could put aside his confirmed Alien work with the US government and could officially return to the Blink-182 lineup. The pop-punk trio would reunite with a massive tour and then release their first album as the original lineup in over a decade. With all the hesitation and elongated excuses for DeLonge never returning, finally seeing the original lineup in unison and releasing new music was reason for many to celebrate this year. Matt Skiba would be leaving and heading back to Alkaline Trio duties, and Blink-182 would return to their roots with a song about edging. That sounds about right for Blink. The massive tour was posted with a thinly veiled innuendo reference and would later be followed up with a new album one more time. For many fans, this was exactly what they wanted for a true Blink return, an album of songs containing both serious material and cheesy pop-punk shenanigans. From cancer scares and plane crashes to being with the Kardashians, Blink has really run the gambit of life events, and to see the three get back together is not a small feat, and from the sounds of it, the band isn't hanging it up anytime soon. Blink is back and on good terms, and it didn't have to involve an alien takeover. Though Tom might have wanted that. Where some bands are returning, at least one band we know is wrapping things up. After 27 years, where many of these band members started in high school, Sum 41 will be calling it a day after a final double album and world tour. It was a shock of a statement, and one I didn't think any of us saw coming in this format. It was shown to us from social media accounts with a shared statement from the group.
Being in Sum 41 since 1996 brought us some of the best moments of our lives. We are forever grateful to our fans, both old and new, who have supported us in every way. It is hard to articulate the love and respect we have for all of you, and we wanted you to hear this for us first. Sum 41 will be disbanding. We will still be finishing all of our current upcoming tour dates this year, and we're looking forward to releasing our final albums, Heaven X Hell, along with a final worldwide headlining tour to celebrate. Details will be announced as soon as we have them. For now, we look forward to seeing all of you on the road and are excited for what the future will bring for each of us.
Derek Whibley did further interviews saying that he had his eyes set on other projects for the future and wanted to do something different than write and play Sum 41, which is not an unfair request after 27 years. Sum 41 Live was always great the times I've seen and shot them in concert, and they will still have plenty of touring to finish in 2024 around the world, along with the part punk, part metal double album. I want 2024 to be amazing for Sum 41, even if it is the grand finale. What should have been a solid and standard year for Thy Artist Murder turned into an elaborate plan of attack and lineup change after a singer went total edgelord online. This is a case of the rest of the band not only acting in defiance against edgelord behavior, but going a step beyond with their music. Thy Artist Murder had the new album Godlike all ready to go. Then known online hate mongerer Matt Walsh was getting all anti-trans on Twitter. For some reason, that's when singer CJ McMahon chimed in with his own anti-trans and violent follow-up. Nothing but terrible ideas so far. Shortly after, McMahon went offline and would not come back after the controversial tweeting. The band would eventually make a social post saying they stand with the trans community, and it was still incredibly awkward though and felt like a PR move. Then September rolled around with Godlike's release, and fans of the band enjoyed the album. That's when the news was made that the entire vocal track was re-recorded with a different singer, Tyler Miller, and anything with McMahon was scrubbed from the album and recording. New singer debuted live, introducing himself to everyone who was confused. Thy Artist Murder kept it quiet until the release. this. That is keeping to a plan when you don't let the fans know that you eliminated the work of your original singer and redid everything without making it public. To Miller's credit, many fans did not know it was the new singer until a few listens and the public notice was made. Thy Artist Murder took a unique professional approach to a dumpster fire of a situation. The lesson here? Don't be awful on social media. One of my favorite bands lost some great talent in 2023. When you have a band of 9, it's going to be more likely that members have to come and go, but it always hurts to see this for any group regardless of number, especially when it's with such talented musicians and a massive band like Slipknot that's still a powerhouse. It started earlier in the year with Craig Jones parting ways with the group after more than 20 years in Slipknot. Known as the Quiet One, the keyboard and samplist departure was announced on Slipknot's social media with, to our fans, Slipknot is announcing that we have parted ways with Craig Jones. We wish Jones all the best for the future. Not much fanfare or explanation given. Then, several months later, just 2 days after the final Slipknot performance of the year in Mexico, and the band's social media announced that the group was parting ways with drummer Jay Weinberg in a longer social media post, saying,
"We would like to thank Jay Weinberg for his dedication and passion over the past 10 years. No one could ever replace Joey Jordison's original sound, style, or energy, but Jay honored Joey's parts and contributed to the last 3 albums, and we, the band, and the fans appreciate it. But Slipknot is intent on evolving. The band has decided to make a creative decision and to part ways with Jay. We wish Jay all the best and are very excited for what the future holds."
A few days after the Slipknot post, Jay made a public statement saying he was let go over the phone and the dream was over, and it was a true dream as he grew up loving Slipknot in his youth and got to play for the group for 10 years. It's uncertain what will be next for Slipknot, as it does appear they have an artistic vision and have plans going forward, but it does make maggots wonder what those plans are after the loss of 2 members in 1 year. Am I the only one who thinks it's ridiculous that Motely Crue is still pushing on in 2023? 40 years of Vince Neil and Nikki Sixx taking the stage as sleazy rock stars. The reason I think it's ridiculous for 2023 is that they kicked out Mick Mars after 40 years. After decades of treating Mars like garbage, they just told him to go home. Mars was also the most talented member of the band. No disrespect to Tommy Lee, but Mick Mars was the actual backbone of the music for all of Motely Crue's 80s output. John Five is now performing and recording with Motely Crue. He is a fantastic guitarist, a great choice for the band, but when Mars had to retire from performing on the road due to his health, it didn't take long for the Crue to screw over Mars pretty bad, especially over touring royalties from the previous stadium tour. Motely Crue is planning on festival appearances in 2024 as well as another big tour, all while the mess with Mars getting the boot is still going on. Neil is a train wreck at this stage, and Nikki Sixx has been outed by Mick Mars for having backing bass tracks. So Neil just kind of stands there live and tries to sing while Nikki Sixx fake strumming? I don't even know. I shot that stadium tour in 2022. It was a mess from the opening song. And Mars and Lee were the only ones not embarrassing themselves on stage. I don't care how good John Five is, his guitar work is not going to make Vince Neil sound good live. When all this mess was made public, most fans were Team Mars and really calling out Motely Crue, but Crue is still planning big things, so time will tell what's going to happen. I just hope it sounds better than this.
From the Blue Ridge Rock Festival continues.
Blue Ridge Rock Fest has now become the most infamous active festival in the United States, with the 2023 edition getting the worst kind of attention. And as rough as of a reputation that Southern Virginia multi-day event has received, it was this past September that saw arguably the worst case scenario. And that's worst case scenario for fans, staff, road crews, bands, even the festival performers. The 4-day festival started with a brutal heat index, filling medic tents to the brim and having attendees desperate for water and shade. At roughly 5 p.m., the weather turned vicious with a massive wind and hailstorm and heavy rain. Tons of footage of social media surfaced on how much damage was done to vendors and campers who lost everything. Even some bands had some of their gear damaged. The evacuation announcement was made and attendees were forced out of the gates, but with no safety plan to actually get them anywhere. Attendees had to park their cars 5 miles away from the venue and be shuttled in on out-of-service school buses. People had to wait in the rain and elements right outside the gate for up to 5 hours waiting for shuttles to take them back to their vehicle. The rest of day 1 was canceled, and Blue Ridge made a statement that refund info would be posted later. Then day 2 arrived, and the intense heat was back with a grotesquely saturated festival grounds. That's only the beginning of the problems for day 2. Attendees spent hours getting into the festival due to the same parking shuttle system, along with campers still fighting to keep their campsite intact. The heat was brutal, but the band schedules mostly went as planned. The issue was not with the fans this time as it was with the festival workers. After Slipknot performed that night, the hired festival crew made it public that their living and working conditions conditions were not what was agreed on. Not enough beds, not enough working showers, and limited food offered to the crews who work overnight to help set up the festival. An ultimatum was given at the end of the second night to bring the level of provisions to staff up to the agreed upon terms. And then it got ugly. All this, along with an overpopulated day 2 pushing past the venue attendance limits, the public health violations then came to light. Porta potties and trash bins were never emptied, and the site was hideous. The advertised water stations for the public were not advertised 12 stations, but instead 2 stations with 6 spigots each. On day 3, the festival heads announced the cancellation of the final 2 days and told everyone to go home, bands, crew, and attendees. The festival staff went and interviewed with news outlets telling them everything and showing proof. Blue Ridge heads said the cancellation was due to weather, but even Roanoke news and weather teams posted footage and proof that the weather would be clear for that Saturday and Sunday. A few weeks after the cancellation and only 1.5 out of 4 days occurring, Virginia State Health Department then had to investigate as the water stations were contaminated. As of writing and recording this, there has been no public announcement of refunds. As of now, it also appears that the new venue for Blue Ridge Rock Fest did not help the public image in the end, and it begs the question, if Blue Ridge tries for another year, would people want to attend? That includes attendees, bands, and crew. How about we end with some positive news? Some positive prog metal news. To some, this may not seem like a big deal if you aren't into Dream Theater's body of work, but when the announcement of Mr. Portnoy returning as the group's drummer after more than a decade away is as big as it gets for metal. Not a slight on Mike Mangini, who is awesome, but Dream Theater's biggest albums in years were when Mike Portnoy was behind the kit. Dream Theater made statements from every band member about the return, ending with Portnoy saying,
"Overwhelmed with joy to be returning home and reuniting with my brothers. There is so much shared history between us all, so many memories, so much music. To think we're coming up on 40 years since this journey began. The idea of creating new music together is so exciting, and I absolutely cannot wait to hit the road and get to play live for a whole new generation of fans that weren't ever able to see this lineup before. There's no place like home."
Mangini was treated with respect through his departure, and he understood the desire to have Portnoy back, which is an incredibly classy attitude to have in a situation like this. And this means that sooner than later, we'll get new Dream Theater in studio and on the road with Mike Portnoy. It also proves that band members can change out without it being a drama-filled mess. 2023 had a lot of ups and downs, and I don't think anyone can claim that all of the year was boring. Along with good music and tours, there was plenty of people and events that got attention. For better or worse. I know there are other big stories that dropped in 2023, so leave a comment for something that stood out to you. Coming up next are videos for the top 5 worst and top 10 best albums of 2023. Also, let me know what your favorites albums for the year were.